Here comes the summer. Here comes the summer. Am I making myself clear? That song is called, in case you missed it, Here Comes the Summer. It's by the Undertones, the greatest band of all time. And I chose it because this is the last week of school term. I know it's been a strange term, and I know this is a very different kind of summer. But I thought I would read you something from this book, which is by me, for once, The Unforgotten Coat. And the reason that I'm reading it is that it's set in the last days of a summer term at primary. I will read you this. Doesn't everyone remember everything about their last summer in primary? The sports day, the leavers trip, the leavers photograph, the endless discussion about which school you were going to go to next, the promise to stay friends forever even though you were going to different schools, everyone signing their names on everyone else's shirts on the very last afternoon, and all the time a feeling that day by day and inch by inch a door was opening and sunshine was pouring in, and any day now you would be allowed out through that door, laughing and yelling so loud that you would not notice when that door closed behind you forever. Okay? And it's been so different for you. Like, you're the first people for years and years and years that hasn't been how this term ended. Everybody writing their names on everybody else's shirts and all that stuff. So very different. And so for your writing mission this week, I thought I'd read you something from this book. That's all, and just let you see what you did with it. You did that with The Cereal Garden. I read you The Cereal Garden by Joan Aiken, and you came up with great stories. So I'm going to read you a little bit from this book. It's about, it's a true story. It's based on, sorry, it's not a true story at all. I don't know why I said that. It's a story that was inspired by a true story. I went to a school in Bootle years and years ago in 2005, I think, before you were born. And there was a young girl there called Michelle who was very, very exciting, and she was from Mongolia. And she was an asylum seeker. Her family were asylum seekers. And they were very, very exciting people. Everybody loved Michelle. She ended up being the person who led the Lord Mayor's procession. She, on Own Clothes Day. Do you have Own Clothes Day? In Liverpool, on Own Clothes Day, you're allowed to wear your own clothes, but you have to pay a fine to a charity. But in Liverpool, that just means you wear a Liverpool football kit or an Everton football kit. That's it. But she turned up in Mongolian national costume, which I'll show you. And so she looked like a princess. Everybody was really excited by her. But sadly, they lost their case, and the family were deported and sent back to Mongolia. And the children in the school were very upset. And in particular, they were upset because it happened very quickly. It happened overnight. And when they came in the next morning, Michelle had left her coat behind in school. So when they went into the cloakroom, there was Michelle's coat, even though Michelle was now in detention and then sent back to Mongolia. So that's why this book is called The Unforgotten Coat. And I always meant to take that coat and find Michelle and give it back to her, but she would have well grown out of it by now. In this book, I imagined a very different person, because Michelle was very clever, very good girl in class. So I think I couldn't tell Michelle's story because that's up to Michelle. So I invented two new characters, two brothers called Nergui and Chinggis. And I'm going to read you the bit where they first appear in the school. They just appear in the school in this story. Chinggis is the older one, and Nergui, which turns out not quite to be his name, is the younger one. And it's about two characters who just turn up in a class. So maybe that's something that you'd like to write about for your writing this week. Some people who just turn up in your life. Or you could be writing about your last day at primary. Imagine what it would have been like, because some of you, it is your last day at primary for some of you. Or imagine what it's like going to big school. Anything about this momentous summer that you are now facing and which you will never forget. This is a summer that you'll never forget. So you could write anything about that. And I'm going to read you this. This is just when Chinggis and Nergui turn up in class. And the narrator is a girl called Julie, who will be told by the teacher to look after these two new arrivals, these extraordinary new arrivals. So they just turn up in class. Everyone's... So let me see where she starts. Okay. Mrs. Spendlove, that's the teacher, said, "Everyone, I would like you all to say a big hello to a new face in our class. A happy new face, I hope. Please welcome Chinggis." Everyone said hello except me. I said, "What about this other one, miss? What's he called?" She hadn't noticed the little one until just then. "Oh, Chinggis," she said, "I'm afraid your little brother isn't in this class. He's in Miss Hoyle's class, which is just along the corridor." "No," said Chinggis. "My little brother is in this class. Look, he's here next to me." Everybody laughed except Mrs. Spendlove. "I'm sorry," she said. "I mean, he belongs in Miss Hoyle's class." She was flapping her hands at the rest of us to be quiet. She was mortified because she thought we were laughing at him and that this was her fault. But I was standing next to him, and I could see that he had not made a mistake. He was digging in. "Julie, would you show Chinggis' brother to Miss Hoyle's class?" "I certainly would. For one thing, the little brother was sitting in my chair and I wanted my chair back. But as soon as I stepped towards him, the big one put his hand right up in my face and said, 'No.' Excuse me? He must stay with me. I am bound to take care of him. I must protect him. I must stay with him." "Well, it doesn't really work like that, Chinggis. For one thing, he's in Miss Hoyle's class, and she'll protect him. And besides, he won't really need protecting because we're nice." He wasn't listening. He just took out some pencils and stuff and settled down to do a bit of drawing. Mrs. Spendlove opened up her laptop and poked around for a while. "Ah," she said, "you need to go to a different class. Coop. She started trying to spell out this unbelievably complicated name, syllable by syllable. But before she got to the third syllable, Chinggis looked up and said, "No." Again. "No." Just like that. It was the second time he'd said no to her. Once might be a mistake. Twice was game on. Definitely, we were now witnessing a struggle for power. Mrs. Spendlove made the first play. "Excuse me," she said. "Call him Nergui," he said. "It's easier for you." Which was definitely cheek in her face, telling Mrs. Spendlove what to do, telling her she would not be up to the job of pronouncing someone's actual real name. Mrs. Spendlove slapped that down. "Well, that's not what I've got here on my laptop," she said, and she tried to spell out the long name again. Chinggis stood up. She looked him in the eye. He looked her in the eye. He said, "Please." Please was good. Please was some kind of stand down. Please was points to Mrs. Spendlove. She closed her laptop really, really slowly. "Okay," she said, "just for today. You can stay in this class, Nergui." Chinggis said thank you and sat back down. And it looked like a victory to Mrs. Spendlove, except somehow this kid had ended up with everything he wanted. He had his little brother sitting next to him in class, being called by some unofficial made-up name. Maybe Mrs. Spendlove sensed this, and maybe that's why she decided to push it. She said, "So if you'll just take your hat off, Nergui, we can get started." The kid did not move, and neither did Chinggis. They both just sat there with their "what are you going to do about it" faces on, pretending that they didn't understand. She tried again. "I'm afraid you do have to take your hat off, Nergui." "No," said Chinggis. Now everybody looked at Mrs. Spendlove. "We can't have people wearing hats in class, Chinggis." Now everybody looked at Chinggis. This was like high-tension tennis. "It will be dangerous to take off my brother's hat." How could it be dangerous to take off his hat? Is his head not securely fastened to his neck? She got a laugh for that, and the laugh gave her a little bit of edge. "Not dangerous for him, but maybe dangerous for you." Mrs. Spendlove frowned. Was he threatening her? "If I take his hat off," he said, "he may go insane and kill everybody." He was definitely threatening her. He was threatening all of us. He was threatening us with his little brother. "Chinggis, when you want your eagle to become, what do you do?" "I don't know," said Mrs. Spendlove, looking round the class. Did anyone know? Why would anyone know? Of course, he said, you cover its eyes with a hood. When you want your eagle to fly and kill, you take off the hood. My brother is my eagle. With his hood on, he is calm. Without his hood, I don't know what he will be like. This was year 6. We had been at school for 6 years, and until that moment, I thought I had learnt everything I would ever need to learn. I knew how to work out the volume of a cube. I knew who had painted the sunflowers. I could tell you the history of St. Lucia. I knew all about the lines of the Tudors and the lines of symmetry and the importance of eating 5 portions of fruit a day. But in all that time, I had never once had a single lesson in eagle calming. I had never even heard the subject of eagle calming mentioned. I had no idea that a person might need eagle calming skills in this world. And in that moment, I felt my own ignorance spread out suddenly behind me like a pair of wings. And every single thing I didn't know was a feather on those wings, tugging at the air and restless to fly. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and just see what you do with it. It's the end of summer term. Do what you like. Let me see what you like. Write what you like. You're living through momentous times. This is going to be a summer that you'll remember your whole life. Tell me about it. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me about your fears. Tell me about your fantasies. Just tell me what will turn up. I will see you again on Wednesday morning. On Friday, it will be the end of term, and we will read the last set of lessons out of your writing out. I'm really looking forward to reading it, and I don't know what will happen for the rest of the summer, but let me take this opportunity saying thank you to you. You've helped me so much to discover my own joy in writing again, and I hope that you have learnt to enjoy writing too. And until Wednesday, write great stuff, keep safe, and have a good time.